Start with the prayers. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So the last mantra that we saw was Vidyate Hridayam Granthi Chidyate Sarva Samshayaha Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Tasmin Drishte Paravare, and this is one of the primary mantra of the Upanishad, which mentions the phalam of this gnanam, the phalam of this Atma Gnanam, or the phalam of this Brahma Gnanam, or the phalam of this Akshara Gnanam, phalam of knowing Brahman, Akshara, as myself. That how, when I am able to see the substratum of this para and avara, this karana and karya, then all my hridaya granthi, or we can do it otherwise. When my hridaya granthi is vidyate, or cut asunder, when my doubts, sarva samshayaha, all the doubts are resolved, then all the karmas also get exhausted. So, tasmin drushte paravare, when this happens, then this happens. Well, it happens parallelly. There is no distance, there is no separation in these two. But essentially, this is talking of Jivan Mukti. How can we say it is talking of Jivan Mukti? Kshiyante chasya karmani. Then all this person's karma get exhausted. And that was described in detail that when we say sarva karmani kshiyante, it means the sanchita karma and agami karma, the prarabdha karma has to be exhausted by experiencing it alone. So that was the last, and then now we enter the 10th mantra. So now the Upanishad is concluding in the next 3 mantras of this concept that or this truth that it had revealed as Avihi. So Upanishad started with Avihi, and that alone was explained again with to understand yourself as this Avihi, which is non-separate from this limitless consciousness. We may need to focus, we may need to develop a focused mind, and for that Omkara was given as sadhanam. And what else? Omkara was given as sadhanam. Yeah, and then it was just mentioned how through Saguna Brahman, we can focus on this, we can arrive at this Nirguna Brahman. Saguna Brahman in the sense how Manomayaha Prana Sharira Neta Pratishtitaha, this Brahman is available here in the heart. So in that manner, with attributes, it was started, the Shruti makes us contemplate on this Brahman. And then when we are ready, we become one with that Param Tattva, which is devoid of attributes. The first Adhyarop is done so that we are able to focus on that Tattva, and then slowly as our focus gets concentrated, we are able to drop those attributes and become one with that Nirguna Tattva. So now the Upanishad is concluding. Hiranmaye pare koshe virajam brahmanishkalam tatshubram jyotisham jyotihi tadyada atmavido viduhu. So this Brahman uh, is devoid of impurities. Virajam means devoid of impurities. Nishkalam and devoid of parts. It shines where Pare Koshe. It shines in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, in the intellect, meaning it is available to know, to recognize in this intellect, in this Vijnanamaya Kosha. And how is that Vijnanamaya Kosha? Para. So it is most exalted. And Bhashyakara will say why it is called exalted. And also Hiranmaye, which is of golden hue. Uh, so this is just a translation, so I will not dwell on it a lot. But yeah, let's so this, and then the second line, Jyotisham Jyotihi. This Brahman is Tat Shubram, is pure and the light of all the lights. And it is that Tad Yat Atma Vido Viduhu. It is that which is known by the Atma Vidaha, knowers of the self. Viduhu, known. It is that which is Viduhu, known by the Atma Vidaha, knowers of the self, meaning they know the non-duality of the self and Brahman. So, the Sangati is, Bhashyakara gives the Sangati, what? Uktasya eva arthasya sankshepa adhikayaha uttare mantraha trayaha api. So now, what was said before so far, that alone is summarized briefly. That's all this is saying. Yes. So then Bhashyakara, first sentence, Hiranmaye Jyotirmaye Buddhi Vijnana Prakashe Pare Koshe Kosha Iva Asehe Atma Swarupa Upalabdhi Sthanatvat Param Tat Sarvabhyantaratvat Tasmin Virajam Avidya आदि अशेष दोष रजः मलवर्जितम् ब्रह्म सर्वमहत्वात् सर्व आत्मत्वात् च निष्कलं निर्गताः कलाः यस्मात् तत् निष्कलं निरवयम् इत्यर्थः. So Bhashyakara here is explaining the words. So Hiranmaye is explained as what? Jyotirmaye. That which is which is shining, which has light, which is predominantly illuminous. So that is known as Hiranmaya. Then that alone is explained as Buddhi Vijnana Prakashe. Why is it Jyotirmaya? Because it has the light of the cognitions, Vijnana cognitions taking place in the buddhi, in the intellect. So for this reason, this is called Jyotirmaya. So basically, what is that? Vijnanamaya Kosha, our intellect. So the light of the nature of cognition or the thought of the intellect. Intellect is what illumines all the different thoughts, and this light of knowledge is being talked here. There is no light, but it is the light of knowledge which is talked, which is mentioned, which is emphasized by the word Hiranmaye. So then Pare Koshe is explained, Pare Koshe of the mantra is explained by Bhashyakara as Koshaha Iva Asehe. Just as the kosh, just as the sheath which reveals where the sword is. Asehe means asi, and asi means sorry, asehe means asi. Asi means this sword. So koshah iva asehe. So just as the sword is revealed by the covering of the sword. In the same way, this Buddhi Hiranmaya or Vijnanamaya Kosha reveals where this Atma is. And so it is called Pare Koshe. Uh, it is called Pare Koshe because why? Atma Swarupa Upalabdhi Sthanatvat. Hetu is given. That because it is the location where this Brahman is recognized as the very self. So also Buddhi is the place where knowledge of the true nature of the Atma, true nature of Atma is known. Upalabdhi is knowledge. Upalabdhi is knowledge. So where the knowledge of Atma in its true nature is recognized, is available, and that is why it is called Parekoshe. Then Param Tat Sarvaha Abhyantaratvat, and then uh, and it is also, so therefore Buddhi is therefore Buddhi or Vijnanamaya is called kosher. Then again, why is it called Param? uh, this was so up till now what we saw was the explanation of koshah. Now the word param is taken. Why is it called param? Because that alone is sarvaha abhyantaratvat, because that alone is the innermost self of uh, of every kosha, of all the koshas. So we have this Annamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, etc. And Vijnanamaya kosha is said to be the innermost. Why? Because that is where the consciousness first gets reflected. It is the buddhi in which the consciousness first gets reflected, and from there on it gets passed on to all our sense organs, etc., and to our body, and then from the reflected consciousness received in the buddhi, we feel the consciousness all through our different layers of personalities. So therefore it is the Vijnanamaya kosha being the innermost of all the koshas, remaining koshas, of all the five koshas. Therefore it is called param. That's what the explanation is given here. Tasmin, yeah. So param tat sarvah abhyantaratvat tasmin. So that is one explanation for param. Then the word virajam is taken as avidya adi shesha dosha rajah mala varjitam. That which is devoid of the mala impurities in the form of rajas, avidya adi shesha dosha, uh, which is in the form of what? Uh, in the form of all the defects associated with or beginning with vidya, beginning with ignorance, and all the subsequent consequences. So, asheshaha means without any residue. Virajam, without any residue, all the doshas beginning from avidya and the respective and the consequent, associated impurities, all of which are not there in whom is this akshara, is this Brahman, that is referred to as Virajam. So Virajam is adjective to this Akshara Brahma. Uh, Here I have said impurities have gone away. From whom? That is called Akshara Brahma. So free from all kind of dosha. What kind of dosha? Dosha was mentioned in the Bhasya. So what kind of dosha? So Swamiji mentioned avidya, kama, karma. All the dosha, including avidya. Avidya gives result to kama. Kama gives result to karma. So all of this are not there in which. And then further, Brahman is called what? Sarva Mahatvat. Uh, because it is greater than why. So this is the hetu. Hetu for what? Virajam. Why it is virajam? Why is it free from impurities? Sarva Mahatvat. Why it is free from impurities of ignorance, avidya, kama, karma. Why is it free from the impurity of kama? Because it is greater than the greatest. Therefore, it need not become greater. It is already great. So then there is no question of uh, this dosha of kama. And why does that kama also not arise? First of all, yes, it is greater than greatest, but also uh, because it doesn't have ignorance about itself for this kamana to arise. So it is greater than greatest, therefore it is virajam. And also, why sarva atmatvat? Why is it greater than the greatest? Because it is sarva atmatvat. Or we can take both this sarva mahatvat and sarva atmatvat to be the hetu for virajam. Or we can say sarva atmatvat as the hetu for sarva mahatvat as well, because it is self of all, therefore it is greater than the greatest, and therefore it is virajam. Cha, and nishkalam, nirgataha ikalaha yasmat, tat nishkalam, it is without parts. So that from which uh, that which is devoid of all the parts is partless. That is how I translated. So this Brahman shines in this Vijnanamaya Kosha. The last sentence is so Nishkalam is what? Niravayavam, partless. So that was just the meaning given for all the words. Then the next sentence Vashyakara is taking Yasmad Virajam Nishkalam cha Ataha Tat Shubram. The second line of the mantra. Shuddham. Shubram meaning Shuddham. Jyotisham Sarva Prakashatmana Atmana Sarva Prakash Atmanam Agni Adinam Api Tat Jyotihi Avabhasakam. So because it is virajam, because it is devoid of all the impurities, and it is partless, therefore that becomes hetu for what? Therefore this Brahman is Shubram, Tat Shubram. Therefore it is Shubram. Shubram meaning it is Shuddham, it is pure. So Swamiji's notes, he has mentioned, Swamiji has mentioned that whatever makes a thing impure, that rajas can make something impure, and that which has parts cannot be complete. So because it does not have impurities and because it is without parts, therefore it is pure. It cannot be impurified. It is not available to be impurified. This Brahman, which is limitless, which is without parts, it's not available for becoming impure, just like the Akasha is not available to become polluted by the polluted air. Why? Because Akash is partless, so nothing can get associated with it. So same thing here. Then Jyotisham Jyotihi, it is the light of all the lights. So what is Jyotisham? all the luminaries. It is the Atmanam, it is the self of Sarva Prakasha, of all the luminaries. What kind of luminaries? Agni Adinam, the luminaries beginning from fire, uh, what else? Sun, moon, you name it, right? All those luminaries, it is the light of all those. It is the self. Or how is it the light of all the luminaries? Because it is the self of even those luminaries. Therefore, it is the light of the lights. So, Jyotihi, light of lights, meaning that is how it illumines. It is the illuminator of even all these known luminaries. Avabhasakam is the one who illumines. So in that manner, it is the illuminator. Jyotisham Jyotihi, it is the illuminator of even those illuminaries or luminaries. Okay, I have to move on fast. Agni Adinam api Jyotishtvam Antaragata Brahma Atma Chaitanya Jyotihi Nimittam Ityartha. Why why do you say it is the self of all these luminaries? Then it is said Agni Adinam, these luminaries beginning from fire, etc. Also Jyotishtvam, they are luminous on account of which Nimittam, on account of which Jyotihi is this Brahma. They are luminous on account of this Jyotihi, this Jyotihi of Brahman, which is in the form of consciousness. So fire and all other luminaries are also luminous on account of this Brahman. That's one sentence. And then I am putting into bracket the explanation of how that Brahman is explained, which is this word Antargata Brahma Atma Chaitanya Jyotihi. So Brahman abiding in the self, Brahman abiding in the self, how? As the as the light in the form of consciousness. So this is the meaning. So Brahman abiding in the self as the light in the form of this consciousness. Therefore, it is therefore the fire and other luminaries are also luminous on account of this Chaitanya Rupi Jyotihi of this Brahman. The Jyoti in the form of consciousness of this Brahman. Or this Brahman alone, which is in the form of this uh, Chaitanya, Chaitanya Jyotihi. Tadhi param Jyotihi yad anyan avabhasyam Atma Jyotihi tat yat Atmavidah Atmanam Swam Shabda Adi Vishaya Buddhi Pratyaya Sakshinam Ye Vivekinah Viduhu Vijananti Te Atmavidah Tad Viduhu Atma Pratyaya Anusarinah. So, Tadhi Param Jyotihi Yat Anyan Avabhasyam Atma Jyotihi. So, that alone is this Param Jyotihi, that alone is the supreme light, yet Anyan Avabhasyam Atma Jyotihi, which is not illumined by other lights and which illumines others. Yet Anyan Avabhasyam, which is not illumined by other lights, and we will also say which illumines others. And what is that? Atma Jyotihi, that which is the light of the self. That is the supreme light. Tat yat Atma Vidah. tat yet goes with this, that is that which is this Atma Jyotihi, that completes one phrase. Then we come to this word Atmavidaha. What is Atmavidaha? Atmanam Swam Shabda Adi Vishaya Buddhi Pratyaya Sakshinam Ye Vivekinaha. Those discriminating ones, those who are discriminative, they see Viduhu. Okay, I have completed the sentence, but Atma Vidaha is what? They are the one, they are the discriminative ones who see Atma as the witness of all the different buddhi pratyaya, of all the different cognition of the mind, beginning from sound adi, beginning adi, shabda adi meaning beginning from sound, and associated vishaya and associated objects. So those who are discriminative, they see this Atma or Brahman as the Viduhu, right? They know. Vijananti. Viduhu meaning know, they know. Te Atmavidaha. Tat Viduhu Atma Pratyaya Anusarinaha. So those Atmavidaha, they know this Brahman as the witness of all the buddhi pratyaya, of all the cognitions of the buddhi beginning from sound, etc. Atma pratyaya anusarinaha. That is an adjective to Atma vidaha. How are those Atma vidaha? They are Atma pratyaya anusarinaha. They are those who are committed. They are those who are the knowers of self, who are committed to eliminating the obstacles in the way of seeing Atma. Those are called Atma Pratyaya Anusarinaha. And they know this with Atma as Brahman. Or they know this Brahman as the very Atma. Further notes, some notes I have said that knowers of Atma know this Brahman as very self. They know this Brahman as the very witness of all the different cognitions of mind, same as what we said. One who is eliminator of all thoughts is none other than Brahman, which shines in this Pare Koshe, in Vijnanamaya Kosha. So this is again summarizing that whole mantra. So one knows the identity between Atma and Brahman. Those Vivekis, these Vivekis who know the identity between Atma and Brahman, they are the knowers of Atma. So who will know Brahman? For that, the adjective was given Atma Pratyaya Sakshina, right? Sakshina it was, yeah, Atma Pratyaya Anusarinaha. Who will know Brahman? Those who are all the time committed to this thinking of Brahman, contemplating on Atma and not on Anatma. So anytime the thought of Anatma comes, they are able to put it aside. Yasmat param jyotihi tasmat te eva tat viduhu na itare bahya artha pratyaya anusarinah. So because this Atma is param jyotihi tasmat, therefore te eva tad viduhu. Therefore, those knowers of the self, they alone know this Brahman. Naitare, not those or not others. And then the adjective for who are those others is given as Bahya Artha Pratyaya Anusarinah. Not those who are occupied with Bahya Artha, with the worldly things, with Anatma. So the contemplative ones alone know this Atma. And Swamiji here explains nicely that how you require a sharp vision to understand Atma. And Purusha, this Purusha is the Avadhi, is the culmination of all the subtleties. And he must become so he must meaning what? We the seekers. So Here, the seeker is being talked about. The seeker must become as subtle as the Atma, meaning what? Our personalities. Our personality, the personality of the seeker must become as subtle as the Atma to become tuned up, to become identified with that very Atma. The means of knowledge must also become cultured, subtle, sophisticated, and free from likes and dislikes. And therefore, this emphasis on karma yoga, etc., and upasana. Emphasis on upasana as well. So, people who are occupied with gross things, worldly things, anatma, for them it is not possible for them to see atma because their buddhi remains gross and does not become subtle. While those who are contemplative ones, they know this Atma. Moving on to next mantra. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. So there, the sun does not illumine, na chandra tarakam, the moon and the stars do not illumine, Vidyuto na bhanti, these lightnings also do not shine there. Kutoyam agnihi. So where is the question of this fire? This pujari is telling this. So then where is this question of this fire illumining you, O Lord? So in the altar, it's all dark. The altar is all dark and this pujari is taking this karpura arti and trying to as if, remove the darkness uh, from the altar so that that self-illumined Brahman uh, can shine, the shine can reach him. So that is the bhavana that this pujari is doing. So he is saying, Kutoyam Agnihi, when all these luminaries cannot illumine you, so how can I illumine you? No, I cannot illumine you. Why? I meaning this Agni, this fire cannot illumine you because Tameva Bhantam Anubhati, because it is by your light alone by your light alone everything else is luminous, or it is you who shine first and in your shine, in your light, everything follows your light. While that Brahman is constantly shining, everything else shines after that by its light. All of this shines. Katham tat jyotisham jyotihi. So Sangati is given. How is from the earlier mantra where we said it is jyotisham jyotihi. So then now the next question is raised. How is it the light of all the lights of all the luminaries? Then it is said uchyate na tatra tasmin swatmabhute brahmani सर्व अवभासकः अपि सूर्यः भाति तद ब्रह्म न प्रकाशयति इत्यर्थः. So na tatra means tasmin, in that Brahman, swa atma bhute. There in this Brahman, what kind of Brahman? The Brahman who is known by the Atma Viduhu, by the knowers of the Brahman as the very self. This kind of Brahman, which is the self of everything. Swa Atma Bhute, which is the self of everything. So, in the form of the self of everything, which is why is it the self of everything? Because it is the content of everything. It is the upadana karana of everything. It is the content of everything. It is the essence of everything. So when we say Brahman is the self of everything, you have to understand this, that it is the content of everything. It is the Sara Tattva of everything. Whereas whatever else we see in a particular object is just a name and form, is just a costume upon that content. So it is the self of everything, meaning it is the content of everything. Brahmani sarva avabhasakah. It is the, because it is self of everything, which is the illuminator of everything. Sarva avabhasakah, meaning it is the illuminator of everything. In Brahmani, okay. Okay. So Swa Atma Bhute, which is the self of everything. Sorry, wrong. Equal is, which is the self of everything. I'm confused between these two words. Swa Atma Bhute Brahmani. Tasmin Brahmani, na tatra, tasri. So na tatra. So in that Brahman, Swa Atma Bhute, which is the self of everything. Sarva Avabhasakah, which is the illuminator of everything. Suryaha api nabhati. The sun also does not illumine that. The sun does not illumine that Brahman, which is its very self, and therefore it cannot illumine itself. Tad Brahma na prakashayati. That Surya cannot illumine this Brahman. Meaning is very simple, but because we are entering into, each word, it becomes sometimes complicated. But it's not. That which So just like fire cannot burn itself, air cannot dry itself. In Bhagavad Gita, Swamiji quoted that Bhagavad Gita shloka. So just like the fire cannot burn itself, air cannot dry itself, therefore there cannot be uh, a karma, meaning that a karma cannot be done upon itself. In the same way, this Brahman is the content of even the Surya. Therefore, that Surya cannot illumine that Brahman, which is its very self. So the principle here, this is important, that the content of Drushya will end up in Drushta. In this, the content of the seen will end up in the seer. And one who illumines is the very Atma, is the very content. So the Avabhasaka, the illuminator, is the one who illumines. And that illuminator is the very Atma, is the very content of that which is illumined. And that which illumines is what? Consciousness. And that which is illumined is what? Inert. Therefore, the content of all inert is consciousness. So very important principle, very profound principle, very subtle principle, which may be hard to grasp, that the content of this cell phone that I have seen is consciousness. Why? Because this cell phone is what? Seen. And who am I? I'm the seer. I'm the one who illumines this cell phone. Uh, Therefore, the content of inert is consciousness. Okay, I'm not going to dwell a lot, but you can do mananam on that. Content of all inert is consciousness. This is coming from Swamiji's notes or Swamiji's lecture. Sahi tasya eva bhasa sarvam anyat अनात्मजातं प्रकाशयति न तु तस्य स्वतः प्रकाशन सामर्थ्यम. So what do you mean by saying that sun doesn't illumine that? So saha, meaning the sun, सह ही तस्य एव भासा सर्वम अन्यत अनात्मजातम प्रकाशयति. Only by the tasya bhasa, only by the light of Brahman, sun can, saha meaning sun, can illumine prakashayati. Sun can illumine everything, sarvam anyat. everything other than itself. Sun can illumine everything other than itself. How? Tasya bhasa eva. By the light of Brahman alone. And sun doesn't anat sarvam anyat, meaning sarvam anatmajatam, everything other than itself. Natu tasya swatah prakashana samarthyam. Because sun doesn't have the inherent capacity to illumine. Sun also gains this capacity to illumine from Brahman. Prakashana samarthyam, meaning capacity to illumine. Na swatah is not by itself, but it is borrowed light. Borrowed light, borrowed from whom? Borrowed from this Brahman, light of Brahman. Therefore, sun cannot illumine this Brahman. Tatha, now the same logic will be applied for all the other luminaries. Tatha na chandra tarakam na imaha vidyutah bhanti kutah ayam agnihi asmad gocharah. So, nor the moon or the stars nor the lightnings. Then what to talk of this fire? None of these are able to illumine Brahman. So what to talk of this fire? This little fire which is asmat gocharaha, meaning what? Which is very pratyaksham, which is visible, which is evident to us, which we are able to see right before us. How can it illumine this Brahman? This fire, which carries insignificant effulgence as compared to the big luminaries like sun and other luminaries, when they cannot illumine you, how can this little fire? That's the meaning. And then Swamiji expounded that the light that I'm holding, Hey Bhagavan, this light that I'm holding in front of you, before you, what does that do? That simply illumines the darkness, or that simply removes the darkness, and not the Lord. That alone, this darkness alone is removed by the lamp. And so also, what does this Vidya do? Gnanarupi Vidya do? It just removes the darkness which veils our very nature. And then this consciousness, which is avihi, which is self-evident, that we are able to own up when the darkness is removed. Yadidam jagat bhati tat tameva parameshwaram swatah bharupatvat bhantam दीप्यमानम अनुभाति anudipyate. So, yet idam jagat bhati, this creation, yet idam jagat, this creation, bhati, which shines, tam eva parameshwaram, which shines after that parama ishwaram. Tameva meanings param ishwaram, that shines after this creation, which shines after that Param Ishwaram alone. Why? Swataha Bharupatvat, because the effulgence of this Param Ishwara is the nature of whom Swataha Bharupatvat, self, it Swataha Bharupatvat, meaning this Param Ishwara is self-effulgent. It is in the form of effulgence, which is swataha, which is not parataha, which is not from, that effulgence is not coming from something else. It is swataha. It is self-evident. It is self-effulgent. Because this effulgence is the nature of whom, when he shines, then bhantam, dipyamanam, then everything else shines anubhati after that effulgence, after that effulgence, we can't after that light, or after that effulgence. How? So example is given, yatha jal ulmuk adi va agni sanyogat agnim dahantam anudahati न स्वतः तद्वत् तस्य एव भासा दीप्त्या सर्वम idam surya adi jagat vibhati. So just as so this anubhati is explained by an example. So why are you saying anubhati, or how should we understand anubhati? So just as on account of the association agni sanyogat, just as on account of association with the fire, this jala ulmuka adi, this fire, coal, this water, coal, etc., on account of the ignition of the fire, agnim dahantam, on account of the ignition of the fire, anudahati, it is able to burn other things, na swatah. Uh, so it is able to burn other things on account of not its own fire, but the fire which it carried forward from this uh, fire, but this heat that it carried forward from the fire. So, na swatah. In itself, water or coal is not of the nature of burning, but it is getting this characteristics of burning from this fire. So, that is the explanation of Anubhati. So, how this Anudahanam we are able to see in this example of water and coal. In the same manner, we should understand for this Anubhati, how all the illuminaries Anubhati, they illumine after this Brahman. So the coal and water, they are able to burn other things, not by itself, meaning it gets the burning capacity which is imparted to them from fire or by fire and not by itself. Similarly, by the light, the illumination of this Brahman, all this creation, beginning from sun and others, is shine and illumine other things variously by this borrowed light. Vibhati, Visheshana Bhati, shines variously. So implication is none of the things in the creation have inherent capacity to shine by themselves or illumine by themselves. Uh, Both illumination and the shining is because of which that is this Brahman. And only by the light of this Brahman, all this creation consisting of sun and others, they shine variously. Yat evam tadeva brahmam तदेव ब्रह्म भाति च विभाति च कार्यगतेन विविधेन भासा अतः तस्य ब्रह्मणः भारूपत्वं स्वतः अवगम्यते. यतः since एवं तद एव ब्रह्म भाति च विभाति च एवं since that Brahman alone shines bhati, and that alone shines at the karyagatena vibhati, and that alone shines at the karya level as the various effects, how vividena, as in variously, vividena karyagatena, and that alone shines variously as the different effects. That's how I would translate right now. Yeah, that this was also nice, and that alone shines at the karya level variously, and this is what, this is the glory, this is the, what's the word for glory, this is the vibhuti. Yes, this is the vibhuti of Brahman, that alone shines as the karya as well. So ataha tasya brahmanah bharupatvam swatah avagamyate. They are nothing but Brahman shining as these objects, as the effects of Brahman, and therefore Brahman is self-effulgent, is evident. So this therefore swataha avagamyate. Since it is known by itself, therefore tasya brahmanaha bharupatvam. Of this Brahman, the self-effulgence is swataha avagamyate, is evident by itself. It doesn't require another light. That's the meaning. So Brahmanaha Bharupatvam, that phrase is essentially Brahma Bharupaha. That's the meaning. That Brahman is of the nature of uh, effulgence, uh, because it is, this is known by itself. Meaning Brahman is self-effulgent, that is evident by itself. Further, last sentence, nahi swatah vidyamanam nahi swatah not vidyamanam, nahi swatah avidyamanam भासनम अन्यस्य कर्तुम शक्नोति घटादीनाम अन्य अवभासकत्व अदर्शनात् भारूपाणां च आदित्य आदिनां तत् दर्शनात्. So example is given how anything other than this self-evident thing cannot illumine itself. Just like a pot cannot illumine itself, similarly, anything other than the self-effulgent cannot illumine itself. So one whose effulgence is not by itself, nahi swataha avidyamanam bhasanam, one whose effulgence is not by itself, one which cannot illumine itself, cannot illumine others. Anyasya bhasanam kartum na shaknoti, cannot illumine others. How? Example, ghatadinam. Just like the objects like pot, etc., anya bhasakatvam adarshanath are not seen to illumine other objects. Bharupanam cha, while Bharupanam Adityadinam Tad Darshana, while sun and the others are while sun and the other illuminaries Bharupanam of the nature of light or consciousness, or sorry, of the nature of luminosity or effulgence or light, they are able to illumine others. So these are of the nature of light. These are seen to illumine other objects because this light is their very nature. While for Ghatadinam, they are not of the nature of light, and therefore they are not able to illumine others. So that was the explanation for this self-effulgence, that only which is of the nature of light or effulgence can illumine others, not otherwise. So that principle is, what is the principle that we can take home? That which can illumine others should have its own light. It should be self-effulgent. Then alone it can illumine others. And this sun, moon, etc. do not have its own light. Even their light is the light of borrowed from the light of this consciousness. Therefore, they cannot illumine consciousness. They cannot illumine Brahman. Now, in the last mantra, the all-pervasiveness of Brahman is expounded. Brahma eva idam amritam purastad Brahma paschat Brahma dakshinatah cha uttarena adah cha urdhvam cha prasutam Brahma eva idam vishwam idam varishtam. So we see this mantra, we see the meaning of this mantra even in Bhagavad Gita And it's
Are you
also
going to
there
cover
in,
today, Pushiji, this one too?
I think so. I want to
Okay.
complete it.
Okay.
Uh,
Then I will join. I'll see the recordings. Okay. Thank you so much.
yes, yes. Want to, so from tomorrow we will have this, yeah, the summary. Yes, Pungoji, you can leave.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I was not fast enough.
No, no, it's okay because you are doing it very perfectly fine because I didn't have, I have to go to the other class. That's why.
That's
Thank you.
okay. That's okay. Go ahead. So, Brahma eva idam amrutam. This Brahman, which is immortal, that alone is purastha, that alone is in the front, or front alone is Brahman. Then same idea, Paschat Brahma. The very concept of front also is Brahman. Okay, so this is more than translation. And so what Swamiji said is the very concept of front also is Brahman, and what is there in front is also uh, Brahman. So that frontness itself is superimposed upon Brahman, and the concept of uh, so, so now the same idea we have to carry forward for all the directions. So now the concept of behind is also superimposed upon Brahman, and what is there behind is also Brahman. Uh, the concept of right is also superimposed upon Brahman, and what we actually find, which is there in the right side, is also Brahman. And same with all the directions. On account of which the concepts of right, left, below, above are, all these directions are Brahman alone. Thus, the concept of space, spatial concept. So, this is not coming from, okay, some of this is not coming from the exact translation of the mantra, but I still felt it was important to understand the gist, and so I've included even in the translation. So, on account of which the concepts of right, left, below, above are, all these directions are, that is Brahman alone. This concept of space, the spatial concept is created, and then the things are also created at the same time. Same with the concept of uh, time. So the seer says all of this, which is in the seen category, is I. They are superimposed upon myself, and so from this, the last sentence is coming from the mantras translation. Brahman, idam varishtam, which is most exalted, that alone is idam vishwam. That alone is this whole creation. So then we come to this explanation. Yet that Jyotisham Jyotihi Brahma, that Brahman, which is the light of all lights, Tad Eva Satyam, that Brahman alone is Satyam. Sarvam Tat Vikaraha, everything else is modification of this Brahman. And therefore, Vaka Arambhanam Vikaraha, Namadeya Matram Anrutam Itarat 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 इति एतम् अर्थं विस्तरेण हेतुतः प्रतिपादितं निगमनस्थानीयेन मन्त्रेण पुनः उपसंहरति. So this essentially is the Sangati, the whole thing. So Brahman, which is the light of all lights, that alone is Satyam, and that Satyam meaning it is non-negatable. That alone is self-effulgent. That alone is the Jyotisham Jyotihi, that which is self-effulgent. That alone is the truth, non-negatable truth. Sarvam tad vikaraha. Everything else is modification of this Brahman. And whatever is vikaraha is vak arambanaha. It's just hanging on to speech. Vak arambanaha, vak arambanam vikaraha. Whatever is modification is just hanging on to speech, It is Namadheya Matram. It is just a namesake. And it is Anrutam. It is Mithya. Uh, this meaning is which was expounded so far in detail with reasoning, Nigamana Sthaniyena Mantrena is concluded in this mantra as a conclusion, is briefly spoken about as conclusion to all that understanding that was given so far. So, Swamiji explains. So, whatever is a first of all, vak arambanam vikaraha. That means whatever is a modification is merely hanging on to speech, uh, hanging on to namadheya matram, hanging on to just the name. It is just a concept of the mind, and thus all this modification of Brahman is Anrutam, Mithya, meaning what? Mithya meaning it is merely a projection of mind, which is that which appears on account of something else. When we dive deep, we find that uh, its content is something else. Uh, so that is Mithya. It appears on account of something else, and what is that something else? That something else is Brahman. It appears because of Brahman. It exists because of Brahman. Its existence is borrowed existence. Uh, this Brahman alone shines as this entire creation. All these things have been already expounded by the Shruti with reasoning. Where so this mantra is presented as conclusion of this pratigna. What pratigna? That this Brahman alone shines as this entire creation. So where was this reasoning given? Uh, so artham vistarena hetutah cancel. Artham vistarena hetutah. With hetutah means reasoning. So the meaning vistarena, which was expounded so far, hetutah with reasoning, pratipaditam nigamana sthaniyena. So that is concluded in this mantra. So coming back, so what was this is conclusion to this pratigna. What was the pratigna? That Brahman shines as this entire creation. And what was the reasoning given? Shruti already the reasoning was given. Avihi is explained as the reasoning given for explanation of how Brahman shines as this entire creation. So it's not very evident. That reasoning given is not very evident. So I think Anand Giri Tika, it says that this Avihi, uh, that which is placed closely. Avihi means consciousness. Avihi means illumination, meaning consciousness. So that alone shines as the seer and seen. And that which obtains as all the seer, thinker, knower, the content of all of these pratyayas. That is what? That is this Brahman. The changeless among all the changing is Brahman. And so with this kind of indirect reasoning, it was presented to us that Brahman alone shines as this entire creation. And in the previous Mundaka also, the Shruti already had concluded that Purusha eva idam sarvam jagata. So now it is again concluding. Why? For affirming that yes, this one non-dual truth alone uh, is the Param Tattvam, is the self of everything. To affirm this in our minds, it is again concluding. So then Bhashyakara is telling Brahma eva ukta lakshanam idam yat purastat agre abrahma iva avidya drashtinam prati avabhasamanam तथा पश्चात् ब्रह्म तथा दक्षिणतः च तथा उत्तरेण तथा एव अधस्तात् ऊर्ध्वं च सर्वतः अन्यत् इव कार्य अकारेण सॉरी कार्य आकारेण प्रसृतं प्रगतं नामरूपवत् अवभासमानम् okay. So, Ukta Lakshanam Brahma, the Brahman which is as said earlier, that alone idam yat purastat, that alone is this, which is in front. Purastat agre. Abrahma eva avidya drashtinam prati avabhasamanam, which is um, which as though appears to be a Brahma, to whom? Avidya drashtinam, to those who are ignorant, to those whose drishti, whose vision is veiled by ignorance, to them, this Brahman alone, which is in front of me, it is appearing as a Brahma. So when I see these trees and animals and this other human beings, I see they are other than Brahman. I see them as other than Ishvara. Why? Because my drishti is veiled by ignorance, that the content of everything, of all the jivas, is what is this Brahman. When I do not have that knowledge, then I see even that Brahman as what? A Brahman. So, that alone is this which is in front, which shines as something other than Brahman. By those who sees this Brahman as a Brahma, by those who get deluded by the appearance of names and forms. So Brahman with Brahman with cautions lead us astray, as if distracts us, and we fail to appreciate the core, the essence of the Brahman. The three gunas are able to create an impact upon me, and I as though dance accordingly, according to the three gunas, and not by the guni, not by the one who possesses the guna. uh, I'm not able to identify that guni. I'm not able to become one with that, the one who is wearing the costume. I'm not able to identify the actor, and I'm deluded as though by the role of beggar that the actor is playing. So, so we are deluded by the appearances of names and forms, and therefore we see that which is Brahman as a Brahman, and therefore this concept of uh, you know frontness arises. Uh, so those whose vision is covered by ignorance, their vision is distorted, and they see things different from what they are. So Swamiji gave example of Ishavasyan. Uh, I mean, not example, but he quoted Ishavasyan. How Ishvara alone is seen as Anishvara, and there in that first mantra, Ishavasyam Sarvam idam jagata. So by Ishwar alone, this entire creation should be Isha Bhasyam, should be Vasyam in the sense of covered, should be covered, meaning that know all of this creation as this Ishvara, meaning know all of this creation which right now you see as Anishvara, to be that Ishvara. So how in that Ishavasyam first mantra also, the first segment of the mantra is saying the same thing. So also the same thing is here, that our ignorance causes our vision to be distorted, and so we see things different from what they are. So this whatever is appearing in front is also Brahman, is Brahman. So Shruti is trying to tell us that what we look at as Anishwara is in fact Ishwara. And if we do not have this vision, then we should do the upasana, then do the bhavana. That even though you see it as Anishwara, do this bhavana. That because Shastra is telling, so do the bhavana that no, this jiva with whom I'm hating or whom I'm not getting along with, he is Ishvara. This is Ishvara in this form. May I have this? May I have start with this bhavana, this attitude in my mind, and that attitude will one day give way to this vision. What will that attitude do? That attitude will help us knock off this likes and dislikes that we have for uh, for our fellow beings. So if we do not have the vision, we can start with this bhavana. Uh, so it's all about, it's a matter of changing the vision. It's a matter of changing, uh, yeah, it's a matter of changing that attitude and the vision. The object doesn't need to be, so what needs to be changed? Do we need to change the world? Do we need to change the people? No, object doesn't need to be changed to appreciate uh, it as Vasudeva. All we have to do is we have to focus our attention in and through everything to see this everything as Ishvara and not come under the impact of what we see, how we see. And this is all, and this is what Vairagya is. Only when there is no likes and dislikes, then alone we will see things as they are. Perception, so perception is not denied. The reality we give to perception is denied. Brahman alone appears as though possessed of names and forms. Don't give reality to the names and forms. Give reality to this consciousness, to this Brahman, to its core. So I find the explanation that Swamiji has given is even better than what Bhashyakara has, said. So just transcribed everything. So what has explained so far for front, that similarly we should understand it for what? Uh, for behind and what is right also is Brahman. So tatha paschat, so that in similarly you should understand for what you see as behind is also Brahman, and similarly you should understand for all the directions dakshinaha, dakshinataha, meaning for the right, for uttarena, for north, for above, तथा च अधस्तात् for below, ऊर्ध्वं च सर्वतः अन्यत् इव कार्य आकारेण प्रसृतं प्रगतं नाम रूपवत् अवभासनम. All of these are indeed appearing in the form of effects. Okay, let me see how I have translated. So similarly, what is behind, what is right also is Brahman. What is below, that also is Brahman. What is above is also Brahman. That Brahman alone in the form of name and form, Nama Rupavat, right? That Brahman alone, Nama Rupavat, in the form of these names and forms, appear as though an effect, Karya Akarena, appears as though an effect different from itself or from me. Karya Akarena Sarvatah Anyat Eva. Other than myself and other than everything else, Karya Akarena in the form of, okay, so from me is what we have added, okay? It's not coming from the direct translation of the mantra. But that Brahman alone, in the form of name and form, appears as though an effect different from itself, different from Brahman, or different from me. Why? Because I am not different from Brahman. Therefore, I have to, let us not keep on saying that Brahman alone is in the front, Brahman alone is in the back, etc. Let us come to I. What kind of I? I who is Avihi, consciousness. This Brahman and I are not different. Brahman is also consciousness, I also is consciousness, and between two consciousness, there is no special attribute to separate it. So this uh, I, the Avihi, the consciousness, pure consciousness alone is appearing as if there is something called front, there is something called behind, there is that frontness, etc. are all what concepts. So that Brahman, I alone, in the form of name and form, appear as though an effect different from Brahman or different from myself. I alone am everywhere. I alone am spread out in the form of all these names and forms. So let each of one speak this, not you. Let us say I alone, and let us try to own it up. I not as this body mind sense complex. I not as this pushti. I as the content of pushti. I as the content of all of us. I as the very consciousness. This avidya causes anyatvam in our mind, and so avidya causes this veiling. Otherwise, it is I alone who is spread out in this manner. Kim bahuna brahma eva idam vishwam samastam idam jagat varishtam varatamam. So what else should I say? What is the point in elaborating? Brahman alone is this entire Vishwa. So Vishwa is explained here by Bhashyakara as everything. Brahman alone is all this, meaning everything. That is Jagat, uh, Idam Jagat, all this in entirety. So two meanings are given. Vishwam meaning Brahman alone is all this in its entirety, one meaning. And idam can also mean, uh, okay. So Vishwam, so Swamiji explained, Vishwam is explained as entirety, not Jagat. And idam is explained as Jagat. So Brahman alone is this Jagat in its entirety. That's how we should translate. So here Vishwam is a pronoun, and Vishwam is used in the sense of entirety, because Vishwam can also mean creation. Here Vishwam means entirety, and idam is explained by Bhashyakara as Jagat. So idam, this creation, is Vishwam in its entirety, Brahma eva, Brahman alone. And this Brahman, which is what? Varishtam, Varatamam, it's the most worshipable, it's most adorable, and it's the most worshipful. And the last sentence of the mantra or the Bhashya. Oh my God. Okay. I thought it would just take 10 minutes. But now that we have come so far, I'm just going to complete it. Abrahma pratyayah sarvah avidya matrah rajvam iva sarpa pratyayah brahma eva ekam paramartha satyam iti vedanuशासनम्. Abrahma pratyayah sarvah avidya matrah Rajvam iva sarpa apratyayah. The cognition that this is not Brahma. Abrahma pratyaya means this cognition that this is not Brahman. This is other than Brahman. This kind of conclusion that we have, uh, all of these are merely notions. Sarvaha avidya matraha are simply notions created on account of ignorance, created of ignorance. How? Just like Rajvam iva sarpa pratyaya, just as in the rope, Rajvam, just as in the rope, sarpa pratyaya iva, the appearance of snake is on account of ignorance. Then Brahma eva, what is the tatparya of the Upanishad? Brahma eva ekam paramartha satyam. Brahma alone is this absolute truth, one non-dual. This is what the Vedas has to convey. According to Upanishad, everything is Brahman, everything is Ishvara. So with that, we conclude this khanda, and now I will take till 5 more minutes to explain this important thing that the Tikakara or footnotes, not even the Tikakara, that was explained in the footnotes. This how was Brahman alone? Brahman alone is all this creation. Uh, how is that? By Samanadhikaranam, the technical term. So we are going to look into this technical term. It's a Sanskrit term, Samanadhikaranam. When two words uh, are in the same declensions, but they have different meanings. Brahman has one meaning, Vishwam has another meaning, creation. But uh, they expound or they indicate one entity alone, and therefore they are in sama. They are said to be in apposition. The English word is apposition. Sanskrit word is samanadikaranam. So there are four kind of, and by this samanadikaranam, these two words which generally have two different meanings are brought about in one location. So this Jagat, that is how this Vishwam is equated to Brahman, or Brahman is equated to Vishwam. So Jagat, what is Jagat is nothing but Vikara or modification of Brahman. How is the entire creation Brahman? So for that, uh, the footnote says the Vishwam is Brahman by Bad Samanadikaranam. So there are four types of this Samanadikaranam. One is Bad Samanadikaranam. Second is Visheshanam, adjective, Vishesha, like blue lotus. So there is blue and lotus, two different words, but it's indicating just one thing, that is that blue lotus. But the relationship between the two words, blue lotus, is of adjective. One is adjective. Here, Brahman is not adjective to creation. So, what kind of relation is it? It is Bad Samanadi Karanam. Let us look at what are the other different kinds of Samanadi Karanam. Other can be Adhyasa. Adhyasa, like this child is like a lion. This child is a lion. Let us say if we make such a statement, then we are doing an adhyasa of lion. We are projecting that quality of lioness on this child. This child is as brave as a lion. When we say that, then it is a projection of a particular quality of lion on uh, the child. And then Aikyam. So I will focus. I will right now. I'll just focus on this Aikyam and Badham. Bada Samanadhikarana. So Aikya is the identity. That Devadatta that we saw 10 years back, that Soyam Devadatta, that Devadattam alone is who we are seeing in front of us as a sadhu. Uh, 10 years back, we saw a different Devadatta, or the Devadatta who we studied with This is the same Devadatta who we are seeing in front as a sadhu. So in that, there is an identity between that we saw previously and that what we are seeing right now. So between this Jiva and Ishvara, there is Aikyam. Between the Jiva and Brahman, there is what kind of Samanadikaranam is there? Jiva is Brahman. I am that Jiva is Brahman. So there is this Aikyam, whereas between the Jagat and Brahman, there is Bad Samanadi Karanam. So this I wanted to uh, mention. So what happens in a for a Bad Samanadikaranam? For a Bad Samanadikaranam, the example used is that ghost which you saw last night in dim light as a ghost uh, is in fact this stump of tree. The other day, the child was coming from somewhere and he saw a stump of tree was moving, and he thought that it was a ghost, and he came running to the house. The other day, the father takes the child back to the same spot, and then he shows that stump of tree that, look, my child, there was no ghost last night. It was just the stump of tree which was moving in the wind. So there, when the father shows the child, what happens in the mind of the child? That, oh, what I saw, that ghostness is removed. That ghostness was mithya. So ghostness is removed, and that ghostness is replaced by the satya buddhi of Brahman. So there, that entire concept of ghostness is given aside. So also in this Jagat, this entire concept of manyness, differentness, otherness is given up when this Jagat is understood to be Brahman. Whereas in this Jiva, uh, now what do we have to understand by Jiva? Uh, Jiva meaning consciousness. Uh, Once I've understood myself as this avihi consciousness, still I may have this notion that, okay, I'm consciousness, fine, but I'm consciousness just in this body, and consciousness in Bhavna ji and Sudhir ji, Gopal ji is different. So I consciousness is different from that consciousness, and it's different from this consciousness of Ishvara. So that for that, this identity is given, that no, that consciousness alone is this consciousness. So those two consciousness are completely identical, meaning there is no parts in consciousness. So that kind of identity is called Aikya. That kind of Samanadikaranam is called Aikyam. So between Jiva and Brahman, there is Aikyam, uh, and between Brahman and Jagat, there is Badha. So in this Pushti, there are a couple of aspects. The body, mind, sense complex, that comes under what? Jagat. It's all creation of Jagat. It's all part of Jagat. So that comes under Badha. So when I say Jiva Brahma Aikya, we have to understand this body mind sense complex as part of Jagat, and that will come under Bada Samanadikaranam. So that will be negated. That will be replaced by what? Ishvara Buddhi, Brahma Buddhi. And this what remains is what? Consciousness alone. And that consciousness is not identical. It has its, we have identity between this Brahman and this consciousness, this Jiva of the nature of Avihi, of the nature of consciousness. So with that, we conclude this session. And from tomorrow, you all will start uh, the summary. Okay. इति श्रीमत् परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्यस्य श्री गोविंद भगवत पूज्य पाद शिष्यस्य श्रीमद शंकर भगवतः कृतौ मुंडको उपनिषद भाष्ये द्वितीयं मुंडकं समाप्तम्. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम श्री गुरु हरि ओम.
Purviji, can we have one day off to do summary because I want to listen again your lecture for